In my mid-20s, I started to excel a little bit at surfing. I started to get some minor sponsors and started to travel, and that kind of became my focus and kind of consumed me. I eventually got invited onto a surf trip to Nicaragua, and it would have been like my first professional surf trip. It was kind of like, for me, like I had made it to the big leagues, so to speak. And I, at the same time, had this feeling like I was pursuing the wrong thing. My name's Daniel Hamlin. I'm from Pismo Beach, California, and I'm an author and speaker. Growing up, I had a difficult time learning. I didn't learn how to read or write until I was 11. I was in speech therapy until I was 12. I just was a slow learner, I guess you could say. I started surfing when I was 16. I caught my first wave and stood up for a few seconds. I was kind of immediately hooked. The whole aspect of being completely immersed in God's creation, it really kind of became like a sanctuary for me. In my mid-20s, I started to excel a little bit, and I started really heavily pursuing that. I eventually got invited onto a surf trip to Nicaragua, and we were there to get photos and stuff, and I was going to write an article for the magazine. And it was kind of like, for me, like I had made it to the big leagues, so to speak, and I thought it was going to be kind of the start of this profession that I'd been chasing, this kind of dream I'd been chasing in the surf world. And at the same time I was excited for being there and being on this trip, I had this inner kind of feeling like maybe I was pursuing the wrong thing, or my focus was on the wrong thing. And so I just kind of brushed it aside and didn't think too much about it. But about halfway through the trip, I got a message from my friend Brad, and Brad had started a ministry in Nicaragua that worked with this community that lived in a trash dump outside Managua. He invited me and everybody on our trip along, and so we went for a day, and the community is called La Chirica, and the people literally survive by sifting through trash. Their communities built on the side of the trash dump, and all their homes, like the neighborhood, it's all built out of trash. It was unlike anything I'd ever witnessed or experienced, and I had this like realization that everything I was down there pursuing was self-focused. It was all self-gratifying, self-promoting. And so it was kind of a turning point really for me, because I realized it wasn't that I think surfing or pro surfing or the surf industry or anything like that is bad or like a bad career. And it's not like that I believe that everybody needs to quit their day jobs and go do missions work. But I just realized that if self is who we're trying to promote and glorify, then we're going to end up empty and unfulfilled in life and never really fulfill our purpose. And that's kind of when a lot of my writing and started shifting from a means of self-promotion to a means of glorifying Christ and using it as a means to tell a bigger story than just my own. It was a couple years then later that my first book came out, When Oceans Rise, and the Lord connected me with another author, speaker, and he really encouraged me to set up a speaking tour. And so I started sharing at churches just locally, and all of a sudden like one door opens another door, and then so I spent a good, I would say, 2 years pretty much on the road. I definitely feel like the Lord's grace that I'm a writer and speaker now, because those obviously were pretty much my two biggest weaknesses growing up. And it's proved to me the truth of the scripture that says, my grace is sufficient, because my power is made perfect in weakness. And so that verse has been kind of a verse I've held on to throughout my life, because pretty much everything the Lord's done in my life, He's proven Himself through my weaknesses. Those couple years spent traveling and sharing, I really began to sense a common theme among young adults around the world, really Christian or non-Christian, but there really seemed to be this desire and this hunger to know purpose, to know your purpose and to know what you were created for. And so that really began to resonate with me, because I've felt that myself, and I really began to have a heart to just help people find their purpose in life, young adults in particular. We're so often told that like our purpose is in our careers, or our purpose can be found in our spouses or in our passions, what we're good at or what we'd love to do. And often we try to make our identity in those, and I've done it for years with surfing and with writing, and I just realized that unless our identity is found in the Lord, our purpose, we're gonna miss it. And so I really have this passion now to help people find their purpose in the Lord, find their identity in the Lord, because that's where true fulfillment comes from, is knowing that we're actually using our talents, our skill sets, our passions for their true purpose and the reason they were given to us. And Ephesians 3:20, that says God is able to do immeasurably more than all we could ever ask or imagine, according to His power at work in us. And it's a promise that we can hold on to. And when I look back in my life and I see those areas of weakness and those areas that I struggled in, and it is just amazing to me that the Lord has proved Himself time and time again, and has done more than I could ever ask or imagine.